Thank you very much, sir, for explaining importance of collaboration and knowledge sharing in R&D. Of course, when it comes to collaboration and knowledge sharing, this is so true with this scenario. And most of you will agree, yes, this is so common in our R&Ds. And particularly when it comes to the formulations R&D, so many different operations, data sources are involved, inventory, CDS, your DMS, several paper-based notebooks, ELNs. Data comes from all different sources in all different shapes, sizes, and structures, and makes it a highly heterogeneous data environment. And that obstructs your data flow, making it difficult to make right decisions, which is crucial for solving these problems, whether it's scientific complexities, optimizing product performance, saving time and cost to the market. When we look at all these operations, broadly we can categorize these operations into planning, brainstorming stage, materials and documents management. Excellent execution is the major part which generates a huge amount of data. And finally, we have to make sense out of all this data. Have to analyze the data, make a right decision, and all these processes goes in a cycle. And throughout these processes, what we need is ease of capturing data, enhanced collaboration, central location where we can access all this data. To address these demands, Revvity Signals Research Suite offers a Signals notebook where you can easily capture your data and collaborate. All data goes into a central place, it gets indexed. Then with Signals Inventor, which is powered by our data lake Signals Data Factory and Spotfire Analytics, it can help you easily fetch that data, visualize, do advanced analytics to make right decisions. For instance, something like this dashboard, what you can see, whether it's a product manager, formulation optimization scientist, what they would like to see, how their batches compare. Here it is showing 8 different batches against one manufacturer, one reference batch, and how these different batches compare with a reference batch. Is there any cost benefit? How their compositions are changing? How the test performance of all these formulations compare with each other? And even you can apply machine learning algorithms to this. You can check further down the line, you would like to see the release profiles, compare different batches, whether it's bioequivalent, those decisions you need to make. To achieve this kind of insights, what you really need is high quality data. The data needs to be captured in a legible, contextual, and structured manner. And that needs to be started right from the planning stage, from project planning. In project planning, where project manager can collaborate with procurement, department heads. He can create a project and then afterwards engage with different R&D heads, formulation R&D head, QA, to get their insights on feasibility of the project, what are the cost benefits, some budgeting, those inputs they can get. They can form their team, individual team members can be assigned their roles and privileges within the system so that all these stakeholders can contribute to the same place and access project related information. They can contribute to the project information in one single place, as it can be chemical structures or literature coming in PDF forms or Word documents, or even their progress reports, PDF files or PowerPoint projects, they can do in the same system. Even their minutes of meetings, Outlook emails, all this can be compiled in one central place, so whole team can contribute in one place and access this information. They don't have to go through the scattered data sources. And even they can have chat-like experience, they can have email communications, they can effectively communicate. Then effectively managing materials is very crucial throughout the formulations development. And as you can see, it's not only the procurement team, but even scientists should be able to access inventory information, find materials that are required. Over the period, Signals inventory has improved a lot from customer feedback as well as continuous development, product development. So Integrating inventory in your workflows can lot simplify your materials management, where scientists or procurement team, they can go through the container location hierarchies, search in what is there in the different sites and locations, particular building, or even in particular compartment, what is there, what is in that container, what is the structure, what is the barcode, and all this information they can access in one place. If the material is not available, they can initiate procurement. So they don't have to rely only on the stores person to get all the information. With KMA6 integration, KMA6 has more than 25 million compounds where they can access all vendor information, pack sizes. They can search required materials by structure, substructure, or even chemical name, CAS number, search required materials, compare different suppliers, and then they can create their order forms. They can specify specific material that they need, for which project they need, for which destination it has to be, and when it is expected to arrive. This order can be further reviewed by managers or stores person, and they can even track orders. They can check what is the status of the order and whether it's valid or if there is any changes required. Once material is received, it can be registered. System can identify whether that material already exists or it's a new lot, a new batch of that material. The barcodes can be created. Containers you can create one or multiple containers and then create barcodes for those materials. That will help in easily scanning those containers and referencing that information in your experiments. In addition to that, with PubChem integration, once you create order materials, you can update information from PubChem, the property information, safety information, which is critical. Often when we order materials, that has to go to certain project, and then consumption needs to be tracked. So check-in, check-out system will help you in tracking this material consumption. So as it shows here, you can update material properties. Okay. You can update this material properties from PubChem, bring safety information and properties. And then finally, you can look at the different lots that are available, what quantities available in individual container, and do the check-in, check-out assigned to particular user for particular project. And that way you can easily track where is that particular container or for which project it has been used last time. Having worked in formulations R&D early in my career, I've seen managing control documents and their compliance is, it sometimes can be a frustrating experience when dealing with the hard copies of control copies. These copies are distributed and then you have to search for those copies and reference it correctly when you perform experiment. So you can manage your control documents, whether it's SOPs, specifications, or reports that you can create within the system. So you can upload, if you already have any DMS system and it has that output, you can bring those documents, you can upload in the system. Or many times at R&D stage, you need to create protocols or procedures even for licensing purpose. So for that case, you can even start editing those reports right inside the system. You can manage their version control. You can have filtering options so that always you will have access to the most latest version. So those filters can be set, and you can define. So when it comes to the control documents, there has to be a workflow for review approval as well as for distribution. So you can define roles and privileges so that roles and privileges can be defined. So whether you have to distribute those copies to particular department or R&D heads or for QA approval, so those workflows you can manage within the system. And finally, end user, making life easier for end user. When they write any experiment, they have to reference which particular SOP or specification or control procedure they have referred. And it can eliminate those transcription errors where they can search for that particular library of SOPs, specifications, refer it, give cross-reference in experiment, and also don't have to rely on the hard copy material. Right here, they can launch that document to refer how to perform, say, experiment or what are the specifications. Once the materials are managed, the documents are in place, what is the major part is experiment execution. And having worked as a bench scientist on both sides, on process as well as analytical scientist, I have seen this is the one major part where we really have to make scientists' life easier because they are the major contributors. When we are talking about the AI, ML, and data analytics, all that data is mainly generated, mostly generated at R&D stage, and how we can make it more easier for them. So when they create experiment, even you can templatize experiment creation where they can capture all metadata fields. That helps in interconnecting different experiments. They can create experiment, and already as I discussed, materials are in place, procedures and documents are in place, and once they start experiment, they can refer respective, let's say, equipment libraries or documents libraries. They can cross-reference it here, and that's how they can reference the resources that have been used for this particular experiment. So whether it's SOP, as I said, it can be queried to the SOPs library, search particular SOP, refer it there, and then they can cross-reference in experiment. Similarly, if there is any particular equipment has been used, analytical instrument has been used, they have to refer the right asset number or that instrument number, and they can bring it here. When it comes to, once this initial part is done, when you create experiment, capture metadata fields, then you capture what resources have been used, then the main part comes, which formulation scientists would like to capture recipe, the composition of the material, how the particular batch has been, what are the components of that particular batch. So typically you can bring, when it is a single composition, you can create a recipe using a template, capture materials that have been used, whether it's excipients, active pharmaceuticals. You can again query respective libraries of excipients or APIs, and then you can bring those materials, define their roles. So what you see on the top, this table, same thing, it's working here. You can query those materials and bring it into the recipe table. So for example, in this case, max stearate has been brought, and then you can define their roles. Also, you can embed calculation formulas so that you can do what is a planned quantity, actual quantity, what is a net or a delta for this. All these calculations you can do with embedded calculation formulas. Often at optimization stage, formulation scientists work with a set of variations. I would not say DOE, but they work with set of experiment with slight variations into the parent composition. And in that case, to save it every time, instead of writing whole recipe table again, we have recently introduced a formulations variation table. In this case, you can create one table where you can specify what are the constants. So as you can see, the constant components, then variants, and horizontal summary and vertical summary. So in constant components, you can specify the constant components which will be used for that formulation, and then you can create multiple variations for this by changing individual component, its batch number or particular amount ratio of that particular component. Seeing it working, so you can see components, and then you can have this master recipe, and then you create variations. In this case, 8 different variants have been created with varying composition of individual excipients to see how the changing this particular component will influence overall performance of the formulation. And this is the horizontal summary, which is like many times you would like to compare different batches and their compositions. So you can have comparison of all these batches, whether it's horizontal or in vertical summary. So that way it can help scientists from writing it repetitively, eliminate those errors, make life more easier in creating multiple formulations. It's not only about the recipes, but down the line, you need to have some controlled environment where you have to work with the protocols. So you can create worksheets where you can have the sequential steps, formulation steps. It can be different steps like sizing, drying, granulation, lubrication, coating. All these operations have been performed in a sequential manner when you formulate, let's say, tablets, capsules, or any formulation. Today we are talking about pharma, but it's the same story when it comes to different kind of formulations. You have to mix different ingredients, and that has to go in certain steps. And how you can capture those steps, capture date and time stamp, as well as have checks for that okay, this has been done, and multiple formulators can contribute together to the same experiment. In formulations, as I said, various unit operations, and even for the coating, blending, granulation, these operations requires optimization. So you can create templates for those optimizations and capture all these procedures. Once the sample is created, the next step is, of course, you create a sample at different stages. You create sample, and again, it's not only about creating sample. When you send sample to analytical scientists, you have to give context. You have to give contextual information about that sample, and for that you can create different kind of sample forms. Whether it's a blend sample, it's a final coated tablets, and then you can create different kind of sample forms to give context to analytical scientists. And once the task is assigned to the scientist, he can look at what is the originating experiment, what are the conditions, handling conditions, or specific details about the sample. Then once the sample is created, tasks are assigned to R&D scientists. R&D scientists again creates experiment using template and send results back. R&D scientists can perform different kind of experiments. Of course, we have interesting talk this afternoon from Saitara. When it comes to analytical chemistry, always the questions about how we can bring this instrument data and whether we can pass this information. First thing is like you can bring all your reports, attach those reports. If you want to go further down, if you want to do integrations, of course we have that session in afternoon where we'll discuss it in detail. So you can bring those analytical scientists, bring those reports and send it back to the formulation scientists, where formulation scientists can get complete view of what has been made and what is the overall test performance. At the end, once you have made something, you got it tested, and then finally you have to make decision based on data that has been accumulated. Need not be every time it's AI, ML, or dashboards, but it can start even from like knowing what has been done so far. It's a planning stage again. So you go back in cycles again. So you can have a dashboard view where you can see what has been done, what is happening in this particular project or in this inventories. Look at those materials, have dashboard view. You can have variety of filters coming from your experimental data. That metadata will help you in creating those filter queries and easily access this information. Not only that, with Inventor, you can perform Google-like global search. You can build your queries and fetch data that you need. Different person, whether it's a project manager or R&D head or end user who is actually doing optimization, may have different data needs, and based on that it's a self-help analytics, so they can create build their queries, they can fetch that data, and they can visualize in interactive dashboards and plan further activities. And it goes, as I said, it goes in repetitive cycles. To summarize, throughout the process, right from the planning to planning, materials and documents management to decision making, Revvity Signals Research Suite help you in enhancing collaboration, gives enhanced user experience, ease of data capturing, provides a centralized location to access all the information that you need, and you can search it, do interactive, generate interactive dashboards, and again, you plan further activities, and the cycle goes on. Finally, all these developments, what we have seen are like a result of continuous improvement from our products team. At the same time, it's based on your feedback, user feedback, and I think that is the purpose we are here. We would like to hear how you are using our products, if you have any inputs, and we work on that inputs. So we would like to hear from you. And thank you very much.